Actually, while I'm waiting, I'll tell you about why I'm asking these questions shortly. Oh, actually, I will tell you now that there was a couple of parachute flares observed last night. I would like to hear from the boat Wavelengths. Are you out there?
Wavelengths.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you very much. No, I was just looking at the boats that were around where this flares were observed last night, and I realised I hadn't heard from you yesterday. I didn't like to call, seeing as you're all a bit busy on the helm. Actually, your letter arrived, was it Wednesday? That's right. I tell you what, it was a bit of a chuckle. A courier letter does not exactly come at courier speed these days, but thank you very much. I'll take your position down now if you like, over.
25, 20 south, 179. 5, course over ground, 50 crew. All well on board. Steering issue. The weather is 5% cloud cover, wind 15, 1 meter swell. Over.
Yeah, what was the wind direction?
Northeast.
Northeast, yep, all right. I think I've got it right, but just listen, because every now and again there's a fade this morning. 2520, 17916 east, 5 knots, and there might have been a figure in front of that, 015 true, and 15 knots from the northeast. Any corrections?
Correction, 179. 2, 3. Oh.
Okay, got that, 2, 3, and I guess you're all getting a little bit tired, but is all well with the steering, the hand steering, over?
The crew's doing a stupendous job after a little bout of Maldemar. Over.
Oh yes, the old Maldemar. I'm actually an expert on seasickness. I have tried every pill in the world for seasickness. So I'm pretty smart on those. Actually, I ended up with Sturgeon, about the only thing that would work. But like all the other seasicknesses, it does give constipation, so you always have to take off from New Zealand with a load of kiwi fruit, which seems to be about the only thing I would eat when I'm not feeling very well. Keep up the fluids, of course, which is hard to do if you're seasick, and eat the kiwi fruit. So it's good that they're recuperating. Yeah, it does take a bit after you've had a summer off, doesn't it? All right, thank you for that, and I'll just make a note for anybody else that's listening before we go to the bit of music that we start this morning, because I'm going to miss the Italian National Day tomorrow, and as you oldies know, we always play the national anthem on People's National Day. So we will be playing that now and then get on with the all-important net. Stand by. Well, we know that there are at least 2 people out there that would be able to sing along with the Italian national anthem. They might not have a prime minister at the moment, but that's really not quite unusual for Italy. So at least they've still got their national anthem, and I'm sure they'll be having a holiday on June the 2nd. Well, good morning, everybody. It is June the 1st here, and we have another glorious start to our day. A little bit of pink coming up, though, to indicate that our few days of incredible, tranquil, warm weather is coming to an end. There is still no wind here, but it's an absolutely glorious morning. 11 degrees. I suppose that's not going to be too impressive for those of you who are stripping clothes as you go north. It's about 3 knots actually from the southeast, 1022.0 steady, and this is Patricia and David, and this is Gold Harbour Radio on this frequency where we've been lucky without any of the Asian fishing boats this year. I do want to, and hopefully people are on board. It's just turned 7:15, but last night there were 2 parachute flares noted, and the RCC have been working hard through all of the boats that were in the area to try and identify who's there and who's not. So if you last night were within about 50 miles of this position, 2625 south, I repeat, 2625 south, 17832 east, a boat at that position saw 2 parachute flares within about 10 miles. I have actually emailed a couple of boats and have not had a reply. I do hope you all have your VHF on as you head towards Minerva, because you are expected. It's a little bit like the farming community being out there. You do need to do your bit to listen for anyone that might have a problem. And you don't hear the VHF if you've got something stuck in your ears listening to something else or watching a movie. I'm very pleased to see that a boat was doing a good watch and did see the flares, but we are concerned to try and find who it was. And if you happen to have had a brain fade and let off a couple of flares and caused this considerable amount of work last night, please get in touch. Either send an email or get in touch on the radio with Maritime Radio or ourselves here and let us know that it was not an emergency. But we're assuming it will be an emergency, and so we are looking for boats in the area. There are quite a few people there, and unfortunately when I went on to a couple of the YIT positions, you didn't have an at-sea email, which was a bit of a disappointment to me. We do try our best here to help you, and we do expect that you will help us by putting some contact information in, which is not used unless it is an emergency such as this. So does anybody know about anything to do with those 2 red parachute flares that were seen last night at 1950? That's New Zealand time, 1950. Could you come back now, please? Go ahead, Ron.
Like I just thought, was the columnist of Jack the Murder doing a live exercise?
I didn't think about telling them about that. Yes, that's a very good point. I will pass that on, and they can get hold of the Tongan Navy. Never twigged about that one. Thank you very much. Good that your brain's working this morning, Ron. It must be that relaxing and beautiful warm conditions over.
Yeah, like the lovely vast 26 at the moment inside.
All right. Well, that sounds really good. Okay. In fact, I will pass that on, but it was a good opportunity to remind people of keeping a listening watch. The boat that saw it did put out a call and didn't hear anything back, but we'll certainly pass that on. All right. We do have a position from Wilhelmie, and there is, for those that are moaning about not enough wind down south, certainly when you get further north, there is a bit of wind. In fact, David's taken my piece of paper to tell you about where Willamie are at the moment, because they've just gone up to about 27 apparent wind, and they are at 2248 and 178 east. So pretty good conditions there. And we've got some very nice conditions being reported by other folk too. So he wants to grab the microphone again. I'm very reluctant to do this because he does get it. You want the microphone right now?
Oh yeah.
I've only got 10 minutes left.
I'll tell you what. I'll modify mine and give you a little bit longer, especially that anthem. I've got to hear that anthem. But before I change my screens, I just wanted to get a hold of Willamie, Trevor on Willamie. So Willamie, are you on listening at the moment? Over. Okay, got your questions for everybody. Willamie is approaching Kindavu on Saturday, and I would suspect a lot of people are going to be in the same boat. Okay, that was just a pun.
It's not good.
And what I see now, there's a lot of wind south of Kindavu at about that noontime. They'll be there about noontime, actually on the north side of Kindavu. But on the south side, we're getting up to 30 knots out of the east-northeast to northeast, a lot of wind there. However, it drops out very, very quickly north of Kindavu. So the way I look at it, now various models are in disagreement on this, but you should have northeast 15. Now I'm using my own, this is my own view of what the winds are going to be. Other models are calling off easterly 20 right there. Now you're going to be, if everything goes well, in the Suva Harbor area later in the evening, around 2000 hours or so. And as you get closer and closer to Suva, the winds will drop off considerably, and that's because all of the winds north of Viti Levu are going to be northerly quadrant, so you've got a big wind shadow that's there. So I think your winds are going to be variable, possibly in the 5-knot range. Now, some models think east about 15, but in any case, either of those are okay. So that's your story for Saturday, noon up to 1700 hours, 2000 hours in the early evening. Over.
What does it look like for where we are now at 22, 16, and 178, going up to that position on Saturday, so from now till Saturday?
I didn't catch what the question
question's on
was.
a piece of paper.
We're at 22 and 178 now, and we're just wondering whether the northeast is going to come and it's still going to remain easterly up until about midday Saturday.
Yeah, roger that. Well, just starting off with today, and this is for other people too, those of you that are around 20, and Trevor's a little bit further north than that, but we're looking at about 20 knots, and that's in the mean. So you're going to get higher gusts than that. Also, today we have troughing conditions that are over the Fiji area. I'll talk about that in a minute as well. So these winds that I give you, you have to take that into account because the squalls and such will be higher. Even if you don't have a squall, if we have cloud, downflow winds from the cloud are going to skew your grid file, and the winds will be stronger. So at around 18 degrees towards Kindavu between now and your Saturday period, they should be just slightly north of east in the 20-knot range. I would say probably looking at, hang on here, hold on. Looking at later on this afternoon about dinner time south of Kindavu, my personal feeling is you're looking at 20 knots in the mean, maybe even 25 knots. There's a lot of wind, it would appear. So this is today, and this is around dinner time. And then tonight, as you continue to head north, or any of you that are heading north, The wind still stays, I think, around 25 knots and just slightly north and east. Now, there are areas where there's lesser winds, and you may ask why that is. It has to do with the amount of cloud that's there. And, of course, the isobars are not linear. We have got basically an anticyclonic flow just to the east of the date line, and we have a cyclonic flow from New Zealand north. So those winds are coming together, and trying to draw isobars accurately is a very difficult job even for the computers. So that's why it's very, very hard to be totally accurate in this, but that's about what you're going to get. Over.
Okay, yeah, thanks about that, David. I'm not too worried about the speed for the reason of just the direction, so slightly northerly. So the next 24 hours would be good for us. Thank you, David.
Yeah, that's right. And for the rest of you, I'll touch base with it in a minute. The northeast winds are basically south of 20, between 25 and 20 on around dinner time tonight. Heading for Fiji, this is. You will have northeast winds. That's not the case if you're heading to Minerva or Tongatapu. It's a little bit different, more easterly quadrant if you're doing that. Okay, I've used up plenty of Patricia's time, and here she is.
Well, I think I will go. Actually, I'll just do a couple of bits of news before I try and find Rapaki and the rest of the crew. For those that are local people, the new marina at Kennedy Point on Waiheke Island has been given the go-ahead by the environmental people. There are a couple of big breakwaters to put in, but the rest of it is floating. So there will be, if it goes ahead in our lifetime, a 196 berth marina at Kennedy Point. That's where the ferry comes in around the southeast side there. Okay, and Aucklanders, our fuel is going to go up on July 1, not very long away, 1 month more, and that is just for Auckland. This is not the other fuel cost rise that's going to be put on us. It's just for Auckland. And you will remember Alcyon reported in that they were able to stay over the weekend with their yellow flag up at Suva. Well, Whistler, thanks Margie, has reported that the same applies now to Savu-Savu. So it looks like it is a general easing back, a very intelligent approach, enabling people, if they want to stay on board with the yellow flag up and avoid the costs that Fiji put on, which were about as high as the check-in costs. So I have actually put that on the website under Flotsam, under www.ghradio.co.nz. So that's good news there. Probably scrap some of this other news, but just of interest, Denmark has joined Austria, France and Belgium in banning the burqa and the niqab. It's the covering the face for those people who want to cover their face. You get a fine of $225 or 1,000 krona. I actually thought they were in the EU euro, but obviously not. All right, and for those that are interested in America's Cup, there are only 3 teams have entered. Luna Rossa, the Ben Ainsley's group from the UK, and the New York Yacht Club. So there you have it. We won't need too much space down at the Auckland Viaduct area for only 4 teams total. Okay, I'm going to look for a few quick results here, and then we'll pass the microphone at David 5 minutes late, seeing as I'm running out of time here. Rapaki.
Rapaki.
We've got good copy on you now, Peter. Go ahead.
Good morning, Patricia. I've got a great copy on you. 2818 south, 179 west, and we have a speed of 5.5 knots with a course of 024 true. We've got easterly 10 knots and 80% cloud. Over.
Okay, got all that, so I won't repeat it, I'm sure, in a spot that other people can listen. So at 28 south and 179 west, it's easterly 10. Thank you very much, Peter, and I guess you're quite happy with that progress north. So anything else over?
No, just listening with bated breath as to wind direction for our position to manoeuvre.
Alrighty, I'll do that, and I will be making a note for those that have got family following them that we will not be on tomorrow or the next day and not to get concerned. Okay, clear with Rapaki, and let's go to Cobalt. Cobalt. Okay, so it'll be a motor into Anisham by the look of that northwest 5 over that side. So just confirm I've got your position because you were light at the start. 2036 south and 16923 east. Any correction? Okay, you guys enjoy Anisham. It is a lovely spot there, so happy landfall there. Okay, let's see if we've got, I'm just having a look through here. Heat wave, Gulf Harbour.
Good morning, Patricia. This is Heatwave, over.
Ooh, good signal.
Okay, our position is 2656 south, 17842 west. Our course is 0242, speed 6 knots, wind southeast 10 knots, speed date 1 metre 12 from south-southeast, about 15 cloud cover, and the bar is 1021. Over.
Oh, sounds absolutely lovely, and with that full moon it would be no problem doing night watches, that's for sure. Okay, heat wave, David's just checking along, 2656 and 17842 west, and they've got southeast 10, so pretty light seas too. So yeah, sounds all very nice, Sue. Much more pleasant than the last time. Thank you for that. And boy, I'll just mention, folk, that there are quite a few people that are catching fish at the moment, so the stocks are being depleted. I'm just going to give a Revelo's position for Toranui. They are currently, and this is an hour and a quarter ago, at position 2637 and 17636 west, and they've got 14 knots of wind from the southeast, 1 metre seas, 30% cloud cover. So I think they're back on board for Vavau. So there you have it. You might see them, you might not. So we'll keep in touch on that one. All right. There are a few other reports that have come in, but I better just see if there's anybody. Excel, are you on frequency?
Got radio, Excel, my God.
Yeah, we've got good propagation today. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning. Excel is on 27 degrees 20 south, 178 degrees 43 east. Course over ground 0302. Speed over ground 5.5 knots. We've got 11 knots of easterly and speed of about 1 metre from southeast.
Yeah, fantastic report. Thank you very much. So I'm sure others would have heard that from that position. 2720-17843 with 11 knots of easterly, 1 metre southeast. Boy, it's quite civilised out there at the moment. Thank you for that. And by the way, folks, when I'm a bit short of time, if you have any comments to add to your report for the folks that are watching to make it a bit more interesting, just go ahead at the time and I'll put those in. All right, I'll clear with Excel because I've got somebody waiting to grab the microphone here. KTM2, I don't know whether you've heard from them, Ron. I suspect I'm going to struggle. Are you out there? Well, I've heard something. Go ahead with your report. No, nothing heard there. What I will do, I'll just check with Gracious Lady, and we'll try and spend some time on the KTM2 after the weather. Gracious Lady, are you there? Yeah, I've got actually a good copy on you today for a change. Go ahead.
Okay, we have all the same conditions as Cobalt. Our position is 032. We are motoring into Emotion and we are doing 6 knots at the moment.
Okay, motoring at 6 knots as well. I'm just comparing you. Oh, you're obviously in sight of each other almost, or certainly on the AIS. So you'll be going in there today too. It's actually quite nice to have another boat around you, isn't it? You can compare notes. And a very good radio signal from you today. It's obviously working from that distance rather well in the same conditions as Cobalt. All right, folks, thank you for that. And we are going to go now to the weather. And this is the last weather for 2 days because we will not be on tomorrow or the next day enjoying ourselves at Hot Water Beach in the Coromandel at Hahei. So David has just told me he's not going to be in the water, but anyway, he will be walking. Take my word for it. And we will be back on Monday. So here's David.
All right, good morning. And before I forget, Trevor on Villamy, when you do get up there toward Candavu and finally up into Suva over the weekend, if you could drop us an email as to what your winds, direction, and speed actually were on that passage. I have written down 6 different model decisions, or analysis, I should say. So I'd be curious to see what your actual conditions are. And the other thing I would like to ask everybody, if you don't mind, I'd like to do a straw poll, at least that's what I call it. If you could email us sometime over the weekend and just tell us how you are receiving your GRIBs on passage and what they are. So in other words, are you getting your GRIBs through sail mail? And if so, are you using GFS, or are you using NavGen or EC? If you're using Predict Wind, which models of Predict Wind are you using? That sort of thing. I would appreciate that. It will give me a good feel for what people are looking at. Hang on.
And I forgot to mention, we will cover the Elysium. This is a very unusual one, so we'll do it after the weather. North Minerva to New Caledonia early next week. By the way, there is the Auckland to New Cal race on this weekend, being the Queen's birthday. But I forgot to pass the little piece of paper with the request for Elysium North Minerva to New Caledonia next week, but we'll do that after the weather.
Okay, I'm going to jump to actually Monday right now and take a look at the 500 millibar prognosis for Monday. And that's because we've got so many boats that are ready to go at that date. And sure enough, I do find a sharp 500 shortwave trough just about over New Zealand. Maximum vorticity spin is just a few miles west of the tip of the North Island. Now, switching now to the surface prognosis for Monday, I'm finding a very nasty depression. It's a 994. It's centered just to the west of 90 Mile Beach. And this is exactly what all of you did not want to hear. Now, the depression still lies over New Zealand on Tuesday, very, very slow moving. The winds are basically westerly quadrant just to offshore New Zealand. So if you were to go heading north, we're looking at 20 to 25 knots. Now, by late Tuesday, they are still cyclonic, and that's because of where the low is located, but they will have moderated. So we'll be looking at 15 to 20 west to west-southwest. That's not bad. So this may be a chance for all of you to leave. Now, Wednesday, the wind's back to the southwest as you're underway, and become 10 to 15 knots all the way up to 30 south. So those are pretty good conditions. But we'll have to wait and see what happens on Monday morning when the models have probably changed their minds. But I would think not that radically. So we'll check that out and report Monday morning. Now, the prods do show an active trough on Thursday of next week, and that's over the cruising route. It's between New Zealand and Fiji Tonga. It's an area, quite a bit of convective activity. It's not, at this point, it's not a depression, but there are dips in the isobars, and it's a typical trough type situation. The winds, mostly southeast quadrant in this, give or take on that, but there's quite a bit of rain and squalls projected for this. So this is a bit of a fly in the ointment, and we'll see if this actually holds up when we take a look at things on Monday. But that's what it looks like now. Okay, for those of you that are already underway, we've got a frontal band that's running up 172 east, 172 east. So not good for those of you heading to New Cal, unless you're quite a bit further north, and I think most of you are. Anyhow, winds east of 175 east. This is going to be complicated, so I'll try to talk slowly, and hopefully nobody will go to sleep. But pay attention if it's your area. So east of 175 east, by lunchtime today, you'll have northeasterlies, give or take on that, in the neighborhood of 20 knots near 175 east. Now 15 knots near the date line. So the closer you are, in other words, to that frontal band, the stronger the wind. Further away you are, the less the wind. Now Minerva Reef should see east to east-northeast, right around 15 knots. And then if you're on your way to Tongatapu, easterlies in the 15 knot range. Now by Saturday morning, the New Zealand front is going to be running up 175 west, and then it arcs northeast to run over Fiji. Now, there's a discrepancy on this. Hold on 1 minute. Yeah, I wrote this down this morning. It's east. So Saturday morning, I'll say it again, the front runs up 175 east. Then it arcs over to run over the Fiji area. Now the winds up and down the date line are going to be northeast. This is Saturday morning in the 20 knot range. But if you're heading to Minerva Reef, east, northeast to east, right up to around 25 south. So you best call in for more details for your passage, as the wind direction and speed definitely varies according to your location, particularly what longitude you're at. For Peter down there on Sunday, as an example, no, rather Saturday, at right around, I would say, dinner time on Saturday. He's at 28 now. He'll be a little bit further north. But right on the date line itself on Saturday, we're looking at northeast about 20, between 177 and the date line, probably northeast, not very good there. But as you edge east to get toward Minerva, the winds basically veer a bit to the east-northeast, so that's not bad. And then right at 25 south, between 180 and 175 west, anywhere from east to east-northeast. But there is a fair amount of convective activity that will occur there, and that will be in the Minerva Reef area as well. Now, by Sunday morning, the edge of the front will reach Minerva, and this affects the route from there to Tonga, of course. In addition to the front, we have an active trough that runs basically over Tonga, over Fiji, then onto northern Vanuatu, and it goes on to the Solomons from there. So we talked about this yesterday, sort of a T-bone type of an effect. So we've got a front, cold front, running sort of north-south, and an active trough sort of west-east. Now, today, up in the islands, we have a trough over northern Tonga. Then it continues right on to affect Fiji, and then on to northern Vanuatu, and goes to the Solomons. And this is the same trough that's going to be there virtually all week. Now, we still have that parallel trough that I talked about yesterday. That's just north of the one I just mentioned. And it affects Rotuma, Wallis, and Futuna, and then it goes on to the southern coast. I don't think we have anybody up in that area. And then we have another broken trough that affects Tuvalu, Tokelau, and then it goes southeastward from there. So there's a lot of activity on the passage route from New Zealand to the islands. A lot of activity in the islands. So it's going to be quite an interesting weekend. So looking at satellite imagery, since we're looking at the islands, it definitely shows troughing conditions over Tonga. There are breaks in this, so you'll see some blue sky and whatnot. Fiji shows plenty of rain-bearing cloud, as does Vanuatu. So today for Tonga, expect periods of cloud and showers. The same can be expected tomorrow. Now, these showers can be quite heavy at times. The winds also are fairly fresh. Vavau can expect southeasterlies in the 25 knot range, I think, today. And the Hapai is a little bit lighter. We'll call it southeast about 20. So gusts and the rain showers, of course, are going to be higher, and more of the same tomorrow, 20 to 25 knots. The direction is going to be anywhere between east-southeast to southeast. And on Sunday, the winds could be easterlies, and they'll be 15 to 20, but they will be shifting to the northeast as the wind wears on. So that's Tonga. Now, Fiji, as we mentioned, is sitting under a very slow-moving trough. It's virtually stationary at this point, just sort of vacillates a little bit north, a little bit south, right in there like that. And when it does that, the isobars change a little bit, so these wind directions change. But expect off and on showers today. Some are going to be very heavy, especially in thunderstorms, and thunderstorms are projected. And I'm afraid Saturday is going to be much the same. Fiji is warning actually of heavy falls as well. So Fiji Met is giving us a pretty good warning for that. And that, of course, brings a fair amount of wind when that happens as well. And not much fun if you're walking around the shore. Winds today by lunch, mostly easterlies, I think 20 to 25. By this afternoon, in the Koro Sea area and eastwards, the winds, well, look for a solid 25 knots, I think. They'll be easterlies, 25 knots. Lighter air to the west, so it's just the Koro Sea and to the east is where we'll have those stronger winds. Now, Saturday shows a whole variety of wind directions and strengths. The southern Koro Sea and eastward, we're looking at easterlies 25. The northern Lao is totally different. Northeast 10 to 20. And then west of the Big Islands, and that includes the Asawas, we could very easily see west to northwest winds in the 15 knot category. So there appears actually to be cyclonic rotation centered near the Batui Ra area. If you look at your winds in some detail, you can see the circular motion of the wind directions as they change. So I would suspect there's a sort of a mini low that's formed right in there. Now, it won't come to much except that it will need quite a bit of troughing, and like I say, it combines with the cold front. Now, much the same is going to happen Sunday. I think we talked to Villamy on what's going to happen Saturday, Sunday from Kandavu and over to the southern Lao. You could expect strong winds east-northeast, 25 to 30. So right in that southern area, a lot of wind. much lighter air for the rest of Fiji, and much of it is going to be northwest. So you can see wind is all over the place this weekend. So hopefully you've got you're anchored in such a way that if you do get a wind shift, you're not going to be able to walk ashore. Now, Vanuatu shows quite a bit of cloud, actually, especially in the north, as troughing conditions prevail there. Winds are light to moderate, southeast to south-southeast, about 10 to 15. Mostly southeast on Saturday, they'll be around 15 knots. Now, Sunday is a mix of winds. We'll have mostly southeasterlies for the group. They'll be clashing to northeasterlies that are off to the far east of the group. And that, of course, is going to support the trough and support the front. Now, as the day continues on Sunday, southeasterly should prevail. They're fairly light in the mean, 10 to 15 knots. Sunday will continue with trough conditions, so expect cloud and showers, and that'll be mainly from Efate northward. And of course, you'll have higher gusts in those conditions. Moving to Newcastle now, we're almost done. Has remnant cloud from the passing frontal band. So Saturday, well, back up, satellite imagery that I took a look at early this morning. That shows broken cloud moving very quickly from the northwest to the southeast. So the winds this morning are right up to lunch, mostly southwest in the southern lagoon, and they'll be in the 15-knot range, and they may drop to southwest 10 knots by around dinner time. Tomorrow, west to southwest 10 to 15, and Sunday, northwest 15 to 20. So you can see the change there over the weekend. So that's a lot of information. Hopefully you got it all, anything that pertains to you. If I've missed your area and you want to have a better feel for what you're going to have, say tomorrow or whatever, come now, and I'll pass this to Patricia, and we'll see who's out there. There you go.
All right, and whilst you're having a breath, you can look at getting from North Minerva to New Caledonia. I don't think we've ever had anybody do that before. I guess they wanted to see North Minerva. One of the things that you have on your bucket list before you depart this mortal coil. All right, is there anybody else? And don't forget, we are not on air for 2 days. Anybody else wanting anything? Please call.
Sahula, Gulf Radio, over.
Sahula, good morning to you guys, David and also Lynn. And yeah, good radio signal from you on this frequency. I haven't been able to hear you on 20 meters, over.
Yeah, roger, yeah, very good. 555. I'll give you my position. 28 degrees, 19.0 south, 178 degrees, 36.2 east, course 010 true to Minerva Reef. Expected ETA Sunday. Speed over the ground 5 knots. Motoring. Wind equally 5 to 10 variable wind. Speed 1 meter but lessening with a low swell. We are 2 people on board, as you said, and we're all well. Over.
Sounds good and great radio. This is Sahula on their way to Minerva Reef, North Minerva, given that you can't go into South Minerva with the Tongan Navy having a bit of a play. And by the way, RCC said it was not the Tongan Navy with those parachute flares last night, folks, so we're still looking for that. So at around 2819 and 17836 east, we have an east-northeast 5 to 10 fluctuating around there, annoying type of wind speed, and the swell dropping. So kind of pleasant conditions, except you probably want a steadier, stronger wind. So I presume all is well. Over. Yeah. David's just, are you going to talk about Sahula, or you've pretty much covered all of that, haven't you?
Well, that and
all right, so he's going to make a comment, and also for Elisham, who wants to leave North Minerva. Stand by, everyone.
Well, I might as well talk about Sunday, since that's when Sahula is getting to Minerva. So looking at Minerva Reef, you're still going to be within the frontal band activity there in Minerva, I'm afraid. So a fair amount of convective activity for Minerva. I'm looking at the lunchtime period, but it's certainly going to be before that and after that as well. Winds are going to be essentially northerly. They could vary from north-northwest to north-northeast, but could be north as well. So right in that arc, fairly light winds in the mean, only about 10 to 15 knots. However, in the case of high cloud or thunderstorms, you can get momentary gusts to 35 knots. So that's your Sunday. Now for Elysium, who wants to take off on Monday from Minerva, probably not a spectacular idea, because you still will be within the frontal conditions. The winds will have shifted a bit, however. They'll be, I would say, north-northwest to northwest. If you're going to Tongatapu, I suppose that's not too bad of a direction, although the winds right at Tongatapu are northerly on Monday at lunchtime. So that's your lot for lunch on Monday, and then on Tuesday, things get a little bit better. The frontal band is breaking up. It's still there, however, so there's still a good chance in Minerva for showers, cloud and showers. On the way to Tongatapu, we have some clear areas, it looks like. In Minerva itself, still northwest, and I would say 10 to 15 knots. In the mean, between Minerva and Tongatapu, very, very light air. I would estimate a motor, unless you've got some really, really light sails. And looking at Wednesday, for that area, Minerva's still got convective activity, I'm afraid. The winds are going to be more westerly for Minerva. North of the band, the winds are northwest, and at Tongatapu, they're easterlies. So you can see the easterlies clashing with the northwesterlies, and that's going to be a cause for convection. But in between Minerva and Tongatapu, fairly light air, quite variable, so you could probably sail depending upon the exact wind condition, but not very much wind. So that's the story for Minerva Reef and the trip to Tongatapu. And here's the chief.
Oh, there's a very gurgly person come in then, so I'm going to try and work out what you've got, but you might have very low batteries. Could you try again, first of all, with your boat name? Over. For the person that just called, try again. Oh, I might have doubled with you. Ron, who was that? Oh, it's Marilyn. Marilyn. I can see why you send in your reports on the email. Marilyn, go ahead and I'll have a relay. Okay, it's very light. If you went slowly, I could probably work it out, but it is extremely light. So, but clear enough, just very, very light. So just check you've got everything connected well and that your batteries are up. That one didn't sound like the other person that called though, so we'll clear with Marilyn, who are at 26 and 175.5 west. with less than 8 knots of east-southeast and 50% cloud cover. There was another boat, I think, calling. Try again. Okay, and I know Ron is there, so Ron, if you could just give a call for anybody that we cannot copy, please. Go ahead, Pilgrim.
Okay, our report is 27 degrees, 5, 8.3, south, 179 degrees, 28.2 west. We have a boat heading of 32 degrees true and a speed of 5.3. The winds are east-northeast 15, and as of about an hour ago, we split off the motor, changed the headsail to a jet, and we're sailing now relatively hard on the wind. Over.
And I've got them very strong, thanks, Ron. Don't know what you did to your radio, but you are booming in here. 2758 south and 17928 west. And folks, every now and again I find that I haven't put the west in. So if you look at your trace when you get ashore and find that you are doing a zigzag, let me know and I can correct it, or you can actually correct it yourself if you know how to get onto your site and remembered your password. So we've got a good strong signal from KTM2 with an east-northeast of 15, which doesn't tie in too much with the 032 true course, but they turned off the motor an hour ago and are sailing. So anything else? Back to KTM2.
No, thanks for taking everything good on board. We were motoring for a period of about 30 hours, but we're set up now for a relatively hard beat to get us up to North Minerva. Over.
Yeah, roger that. Oh, well, you've got a bit of easting in, so hopefully it won't be too bad. All right, well, fantastic signal, so that's good, and pass through the awkward period that we have a struggle with people. So thank you for that, and we will be back on Monday. So I think that's about it from everyone. I'll just pass it back to Pilgrim, who are doing a good experiment actually. Ron is injecting the crown of thorns with vinegar, which they don't particularly like, and then watching what happens, whether they can move or die in place or whatever. So that will be an interesting experiment, Ron. Over.
Yeah,
Yes, please. Sahula. Yeah, I've got them, Ron. Sahula. Go ahead, David.
A large, wonder-sized cargo ship was between 10 and 12 midnight. This ship was strangely, the ship was going very slow. I thought it was a fishing boat. I took a wide berth of it, but it slowly moved off to the southeast. So I didn't hear any reports of other shipping, but there certainly was a ship there last night over.
Okay, if you could just glance at your log there and tell me where you were about that time between 10 and 12, over.
But it certainly was, let's say, somewhere around about 29 degrees south, and about 178 east, somewhere in that region. Over.
Okay, thanks. I will pass that on. Thank you very much. Yep, probably interesting to know what they're up to. There's all sorts of things going out there in the wild blue yonder. It's not exactly empty, is it?
Passing drugs.
Passing drugs, says David. Yeah, Revelo had the fighter jet go over them not all that long after they'd left New Zealand. Well, we don't have any jets in our Air Force anymore, so God knows where that one came from. All right, thank you for that. I shall pass that on. All right, it looks like we've tidied everything up, and we are going to be off and away for 2 days, folks. So we will be back on Monday morning, Queen's birthday. I very much doubt that there'll be anybody leaving on Queen's birthday, apart from those that have to in a race. But anyway, those of you still left in New Zealand are probably looking at that midweekish.
And if they can get their emails in.
If they get.
For the straw poll.
Oh yes, David wants a straw poll. I'm not sure what that was all about. Oh, models. That's right. He wants to know what models you're using. So if you do contact us, if you could drop us a line, ghradio@extra.co.nz. He just wants to know what models people are using. So that will be interesting for his study that will keep him quiet during the rain in the weekend. All right. Have a good weekend, everybody, and we will be back with you on Monday morning. Cheers, all the frequencies yours.